There is something quietly haunting about the lands between. Elden Ring never truly explains itself, not because it cannot, but because it respects your curiosity too much to rob you of discovery. It trusts you to find truth buried beneath ash and memory. The silence between the winds carries more lore than any book could hold. Each ruin, each broken statue, each shallow breath of grace whittled to embers, it all whispers something ancient, something waiting for patience to listen. Tonight, we're going to explore what Elden Ring never tells you directly, the hidden patterns in its design, the philosophical undercurrents that flow beneath every boss fight and every item description, the moral questions it poses without ever asking them aloud. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's wander together through the mysteries of a world that speaks only to those willing to hear. When you first step into the lands between, you are tarnished. That word alone carries weight. Not cursed, not damned, but tarnished. Something that once shone brightly but has lost its luster. Something that can be polished again, perhaps, or perhaps not. The game never explains what it means to be tarnished in concrete terms. It shows you instead. You awaken in a chapel with no memory of how you arrived. The world outside is broken. The sky itself seems wounded. And you are told simply to seek the Elden Ring. But what is the Elden Ring? The game assumes you understand, or that you will come to understand through experience rather than exposition. This is the first lesson Elden Ring teaches without teaching. It respects your intelligence. It believes you can piece together meaning from fragments. And so it scatters those fragments across a vast landscape, trusting that curiosity will guide you to them. The opening moments are deliberately disorienting. You emerge into a world that feels both ancient and apocalyptic. Ruins dot the landscape. Giants patrol the roads. The sky churns with unnatural colors. And yet there is beauty here, too. Golden light filters through trees. Distant castles shimmer on horizons. The world is broken, yes, but it remembers what it once was. This tension between ruin and beauty, between death and persistence, defines everything that follows. Elden Ring is a game about cycles, about empires that rise and fall, about gods who fade and are forgotten, about the stubborn refusal of life to surrender even when all hope seems lost. These themes are never stated outright. They emerge slowly like shapes in fog as you explore and observe and connect disparate pieces of information. The game trusts you to be an active participant in its storytelling, not a passive recipient. Consider the Erd Tree. It dominates the skyline, visible from almost everywhere in the lands between. A massive golden tree that seems to glow with divine light. It is beautiful and terrible at once. You are drawn to it instinctively, even before you understand why. The game never stops to explain what the Erd Tree represents. It simply exists, a constant presence, a destination that feels both inevitable and impossibly distant. As you journey, you begin to notice things. The Erd Tree's roots burrow deep into the earth, spreading like veins across the landscape. Smaller golden trees, minor Erd trees, sprout in various locations, each one a pale echo of the great tree at the center of the world. And beneath it all, literally beneath the roots and the soil, lies something else. Something older. Something the Erd Tree has grown over, perhaps to hide it, perhaps to contain it. This is how Elden Ring tells its stories. Through observation, through environmental details, through the placement of objects and enemies and architecture. The game is a text written in space and light and shadow, and you are invited to read it at your own pace, in your own way. Let's talk about grace, those golden wisps of light that mark safe places, checkpoints where you can rest and level up and prepare for what comes next. They are called sights of grace, and that word, grace, carries theological weight. Grace is unearned favor, divine blessing given freely, not because it is deserved, but because it is offered. In Elden Ring, grace guides you. Literally, golden light streams from sights of grace, pointing you toward your next destination. But here's what the game never tells you directly. Grace is not neutral. It has an agenda. The guidance of grace leads you toward the Erd tree, toward the capital, toward the throne of the Elden Lord. It wants you to follow a specific path. But you can't ignore it. You can wander in any direction you choose. The game allows this. It respects your agency even as it offers guidance. And in that tension between guidance and freedom, between divine will and personal choice, lies one of Elden Ring's central philosophical questions. Are you following your own path, or are you being led? The demigods you encounter, the shard bearers who hold fragments of the Elden Ring, are not simply bosses to defeat. They are tragic figures, each one corrupted or broken by the power they sought. Godric grafts the limbs of others onto his own body, desperately trying to become something greater than he is. Radon holds back the stars themselves, maintaining a cosmic stalemate even as his mind rots away. Ricard feeds himself to a serpent, seeking immortality through consumption. Millennia blooms into rot, her strength inseparable from the disease that devours her. Each demigod represents a different response to power and its consequences. Each one chose a path and followed it to its logical, terrible conclusion. And the game asks you, without ever asking aloud, what will you choose? What will you become in your pursuit of the Elden Ring? Will you be different from them, or will you simply repeat their mistakes in a new form? The lands between are full of merchants and travelers and warriors who have their own stories, their own goals. Many of them are tarnished like you, called back from death to seek the Elden Ring. But they approach this quest differently. Some seek power, some seek knowledge, some seek revenge. Some have simply given up and now wander aimlessly, going through the motions of a quest they no longer believe in. These characters are easy to overlook. They don't shout for your attention. They sit quietly by roads or in ruins, and if you stop to talk to them, they share fragments of their stories. Fragments that, when assembled, reveal a world far more complex than it first appears. There's a merchant who hums a sad tune. If you listen carefully, you realize it's a lullaby, something he might have sung to a child once, in a life before this one. There's a warrior who speaks of honor and duty, but whose eyes are hollow, as if he no longer believes his own words. There's a scholar who has gone mad trying to understand the nature of the Elden Ring. His notes scattered and contradictory, his mind fractured by knowledge that was never meant to be known. These characters are not quest givers in the traditional sense. They don't offer rewards or mark objectives on your map. They simply exist, and in existing, they make the world feel lived in. They remind you that you are not the only person struggling in this broken land. Everyone here is trying to survive, to find meaning, to hold on to something in a world that seems determined to take everything away. Elden Ring's approach to difficulty is often discussed, but rarely in the context of its narrative purpose. The game is hard, yes. It will kill you repeatedly. But that difficulty is not arbitrary. It serves the story. You are tarnished, called back from death, and death is not an ending for you. It is a setback, a lesson, a chance to try again. The game's difficulty reinforces the idea that you are persistent, that you will keep trying no matter how many times you fall. This is not just a gameplay mechanic. It is a statement about the nature of your character and your quest. Every time you die and return, you are enacting the central theme of the game. Cycles, persistence, the refusal to surrender. You are living proof that even in a world of decay and ruin, something endures, and that something is will. The will to continue, the will to try again, the will to believe that maybe, just maybe, this time will be different. The game never congratulates you for this. It never acknowledges your persistence directly. It simply allows you to continue over and over until you succeed or give up. And in that silence, in that lack of acknowledgement, there is a kind of respect. The game trusts that you understand what you are doing and why. It doesn't need to explain or justify. It simply provides the space for you to enact your own story of persistence. Let's consider the lore hidden in item descriptions. This is a FromSoftware tradition, and Elden Ring takes it to new heights. Every weapon, every piece of armor, every consumable item has a description that reveals something about the world. These descriptions are often poetic, sometimes cryptic, always carefully worded. They are fragments of a larger narrative, pieces of a puzzle that you must assemble yourself. A sword might tell you about the knight who wielded it and the oath he swore. A talisman might reveal the existence of a forgotten god. A simple crafting material might hint at ancient practices and lost civilizations. The game scatters this information throughout the world, never organizing it, never explaining how it all fits together. You must do that work yourself. You must read and remember and connect. You must become a scholar of this world if you want to truly understand it. This approach to storytelling is demanding. It requires attention and effort, but it also creates a unique kind of engagement. When you discover a connection between two seemingly unrelated items, when you realize that a throwaway line in one description illuminates a mystery in another, you feel a genuine sense of discovery. You have earned that knowledge. It was not given to you. You found it. The game's geography tells stories too. The way areas connect, the paths between them, the vistas that open up as you climb higher or delve deeper. Limgrave, the starting area, is relatively gentle. Rolling hills, scattered ruins, a sense of faded, pastoral beauty. But as you move north toward Liurnia, the landscape changes. Lakes and mist, ancient academy towers rising from the water, a sense of mystery and hidden knowledge. Further north still, the Altus Plateau, elevated and golden, closer to the Erd Tree, more orderly, but also more oppressive. And beyond that, the capital, Lindell, a city of golden light and rigid hierarchy, beautiful and suffocating at once. Each area has its own character, its own mood, its own story to tell, and the transitions between them are carefully designed to create emotional beats. The moment you emerge from the underground and see the Altus Plateau spread out before you, bathed in golden light, is meant to feel like an achievement, a milestone. The moment you first glimpse Lindell in the distance, its walls impossibly high, its towers reaching toward the Erd Tree, is meant to feel daunting and awe-inspiring at once. The game uses verticality to create a sense of progression and hierarchy. The higher you climb, the closer you get to the Erd Tree, the more golden and ordered the world becomes. But there is also a sense of wrongness to this order. The golden light is beautiful, but it is also oppressive. It illuminates everything, leaving no shadows, no mystery, no room for anything that does not fit its vision of perfection. And beneath this golden surface, literally beneath it, in the sewers and catacombs and underground rivers, lies a different world. A world of shadow and rot and things that have been buried and forgotten. This vertical structure is not just environmental design, it is thematic. The game is asking you to consider what lies beneath the surface, what has been hidden or suppressed or forgotten in the pursuit of order and perfection. The golden order of the Erd Tree is presented as divine and eternal. But the more you explore, the more you realize it is built on foundations that are anything but stable. It is a facade, beautiful and grand, but a facade nonetheless. The underground areas of Elden Ring are some of its most fascinating spaces. Siofra River, Nokron, Nokstella, the Lake of Rot. These are places that exist beneath the lands between, hidden from the light of the Erd Tree, following their own rules and their own histories. They are ancient, far older than the Golden Order, and they remember things that the surface world has forgotten or chosen to ignore. In these underground spaces, you find evidence of civilizations that predate the Erd Tree. Cities built by people who worshipped different gods, who followed different philosophies, who had their own understanding of the world and their place in it. These civilizations are gone now, destroyed or abandoned, but their ruins remain. And in those ruins, you can read the story of what came before, a story that complicates and challenges the narrative of the Golden Order. The game never forces you to explore these underground areas. You can complete the main quest without ever descending into the depths. But if you do explore them, if you take the time to wander through these forgotten places and piece together their stories, you gain a deeper understanding of the world. You realize that the Erd Tree and its Golden Order are not eternal. They are simply the latest in a long series of orders, each one believing itself to be final and perfect, each one eventually falling into ruin. This is the cycle that Elden Ring keeps returning to: rise and fall, order and chaos, light and shadow. The game presents these as inevitable, as natural as the turning of seasons. But it also asks whether this cycle can be broken, whether you, the player, the Tarnished, who has returned from death, can do something different, whether you can create a new order or perhaps no order at all, whether you can find a third path between the extremes. The endings of Elden Ring reflect this question. There are multiple endings, each one representing a different choice, a different vision for the future of the lands between. You can restore the Golden Order, maintaining the status quo. You can usher in an age of stars, bringing change and uncertainty. You can embrace the frenzied flame, burning everything away and starting from nothing. You can create an age of perfect order, eliminating all chaos and all freedom. Or you can walk away, leaving the lands between to its fate, refusing to impose your will on a world that has seen too many lords already. The game does not tell you which ending is correct. It does not judge your choice. It simply presents the options and allows you to decide. And in that moment of decision, you are enacting the game's central theme. You are choosing what kind of world you want to create, what kind of future you believe in. You are taking responsibility for your actions and their consequences. This is what Elden Ring never tells you directly, but shows you through every aspect of its design. That meaning is not given. It is created. That understanding is not handed to you. It is earned through exploration and observation and thought. That the world is complex and contradictory and full of competing truths, and it is your job to navigate that complexity and find your own path through it. The game respects you enough to let you struggle with these questions. It does not provide easy answers or clear moral guidance. It presents a world and invites you to engage with it on your own terms. And in doing so, it creates an experience that is deeply personal. Your journey through the lands between is not the same as anyone else's. The connections you make, the stories you uncover, the meaning you derive, all of this is unique to you. Let's talk about Melina. She appears early in your journey, offering you an accord. She will turn the runes you collect into strength, allowing you to level up, and in exchange, you will take her to the foot of the Erd tree. She is mysterious, speaking in riddles and half-truths, revealing little about herself or her motivations. But she is also your constant companion, appearing at sites of grace to offer guidance and share fragments of memory. Melina's role in the story is subtle. She is not a quest giver or a source of exposition. She is a presence, a voice that accompanies you on your journey. And through her, the game explores themes of purpose and sacrifice. Melina has a goal, a mission that she believes she must fulfill, even if it costs her everything. She is willing to burn herself as kindling to open the path forward, to sacrifice her existence for the sake of your quest. But the game asks, through Melina's story, whether such sacrifice is necessary, whether there might be another way, whether the old patterns of martyrdom and self-destruction must be repeated, or whether something new is possible. And depending on your choices, you can save Melina, or you can allow her to fulfill her purpose, or you can take her place, burning yourself instead. These choices are not presented as moral tests with right and wrong answers. They are simply choices, each with its own consequences, each reflecting a different understanding of duty and sacrifice and the value of individual lives. The game trusts you to make these decisions without guidance, to live with the consequences, to find your own meaning in the outcomes. The character of Ranni the Witch offers another perspective on the game's themes. Ranni seeks to overthrow the Golden Order, to free the world from the influence of the Greater Will, to usher in an age of stars and uncertainty. She is a revolutionary, willing to commit terrible acts in pursuit of her vision. She orchestrated the Night of Black Knives, the event that shattered the Elden Ring and set the current crisis in motion. She killed her own body to free herself from the constraints of flesh and fate. Ranni's quest line is one of the most complex in the game, spanning multiple areas and requiring careful attention to detail. But if you follow it to its conclusion, you are offered a choice. You can help Ranni achieve her goal, becoming her consort and ushering in her age of stars. Or you can refuse, pursuing a different path. What makes Ranni's story fascinating is its ambiguity. She is not presented as purely good or purely evil. She has done terrible things, caused immense suffering, but she has done so in pursuit of what she believes is a better future. A future where the world is not controlled by distant gods, where people are free to make their own choices and their own mistakes. Whether you agree with her methods or her vision is left entirely up to you. This moral ambiguity extends to almost every character and faction in the game. The Golden Order is presented as oppressive and stagnant, but it also brought peace and stability for a time. The frenzied flame offers destruction and rebirth, but at the cost of everything that currently exists. The Dung Eater seeks to curse all life, to ensure that suffering continues forever, but he believes this is the only honest response to a world built on lies and false hope. The game does not tell you who is right. It presents these competing visions and allows you to decide which, if any, you find compelling. And in doing so, it creates a narrative that is genuinely thought-provoking, that lingers in your mind long after you have finished playing. The bosses of Elden Ring are not just obstacles to overcome. They are characters with their own stories, their own motivations, their own tragedies. Margit the Fell Omen guards the path to Stormvale Castle, but he is not simply a gatekeeper. He is an omen, a being born with horns and considered cursed by the Golden Order. He has been cast out, rejected, and yet he still serves, still guards, still believes in the order that rejected him. His loyalty is both admirable and tragic. Godric the Grafted is a pathetic figure, a distant relative of the demigods who grafts the limbs of others onto his body in a desperate attempt to become something greater. He is weak and knows it, and his grafting is an expression of that weakness, a physical manifestation of his inadequacy. When you defeat him, there is no sense of triumph, only a kind of sad relief that his suffering is over. Renala, Queen of the Full Moon, sits in her library surrounded by her students, endlessly rebirthing them in a futile attempt to recapture the past. She has been broken by loss, by the departure of her husband Radagon, and she clings to the one thing she has left, her ability to grant rebirth. She is not evil. She is simply lost, trapped in a cycle of her own making, unable to move forward. These bosses are not monsters to be slain. They are people who have been broken by the world, by power, by loss, by their own choices. And in defeating them, you are not simply progressing through the game. You are witnessing the consequences of the world's brokenness, the human cost of the shattering of the Elden Ring. The game's approach to combat reinforces this. Fights are deliberate, methodical, requiring you to learn patterns and respond carefully. There is a rhythm to combat, a dance between you and your opponent, and in that dance, you come to understand your enemy. You learn how they move, how they think, what they are capable of. You develop a kind of intimacy with them even as you work to defeat them. This is very different from games where enemies are simply targets to be eliminated as efficiently as possible. In Elden Ring, combat is a conversation, a way of understanding the world and the beings that inhabit it. And when you finally land the killing blow, there is often a sense of melancholy mixed with relief. You have ended a life, yes, but you have also ended suffering, released someone from a fate they could not escape on their own. The music of Elden Ring deserves attention as well. The soundtrack is sparse, often absent entirely, allowing the ambient sounds of the world to take precedence. Wind rustling through grass, water flowing over stones, the distant cries of creatures. This silence creates space for contemplation, for the player to think and observe without distraction. When music does appear, it is carefully chosen to enhance specific moments. Boss fights have their own themes, each one reflecting the character and tragedy of the opponent. The music swells and builds, creating a sense of drama and importance, but it never overwhelms. It supports the experience without dominating it. The main theme of Elden Ring is melancholic and beautiful, a piece that captures the game's central mood. It speaks of loss and longing, of beauty in ruin, of hope that persists even in the face of overwhelming darkness. It is music that invites reflection, that asks you to sit with your feelings rather than pushing them aside. This careful use of music is part of the game's overall philosophy of restraint. Elden Ring could be louder, more aggressive, more insistent, but it chooses not to be. It trusts that quiet moments, moments of silence and contemplation, are just as important as moments of action and intensity. It understands that meaning often emerges in the spaces between, in the pauses, in the moments when nothing is happening, and you are left alone with your thoughts. The crafting system in Elden Ring is another element that is never fully explained but rewards exploration and experimentation. You can gather materials from the world and use them to craft items. Arrows, throwing knives, consumables that provide temporary buffs or cure status effects. The game does not tell you what to craft or when. It simply provides the tools and allows you to decide how to use them. This system encourages you to engage with the world in a different way. Instead of simply running past plants and creatures, you stop to gather materials. You pay attention to what grows where, what creatures drop what items. You develop a relationship with the landscape, learning its rhythms and patterns. And in doing so, you become more invested in the world, more connected to it. The crafting system also reinforces the game's themes of self-sufficiency and resourcefulness. You are tarnished, an outsider, and you cannot rely on the established order to provide for you. You must make your own way using whatever you can find. The act of crafting becomes a metaphor for your entire journey. You are taking raw materials, fragments, and pieces and assembling them into something useful, something that will help you survive and progress. Let's consider the role of NPCs and their quest lines. Characters like Nephili Lu, Alexander the Warrior Jar, Blade the Half-Wolf, and many others have their own stories that unfold as you progress through the game. These quest lines are easy to miss. They require you to be in the right place at the right time, to talk to characters multiple times, to pay attention to what they say and where they say they are going. The game does not hold your hand through these quest lines. It does not mark objectives or provide reminders. If you miss a step, you might lock yourself out of a quest line entirely. This can be frustrating, but it also makes the quest lines feel more real, more organic. These characters are living their own lives, pursuing their own goals. They are not waiting for you. If you want to be part of their stories, you must make the effort to stay connected, to check in, to follow up. When you do complete an NPC questline, the reward is not just items or experience, it is narrative closure, a sense of having witnessed a complete story arc. You see characters grow and change, face challenges, make choices, and live with the consequences. Some quest lines end happily, others end in tragedy, but all of them feel meaningful. because you were there, because you participated, because you cared enough to see them through. The lands between are full of secrets, hidden paths, illusory walls, areas that can only be accessed by solving environmental puzzles or finding obscure items. The game delights in hiding things, in rewarding curiosity and thoroughness. But these secrets are not just Easter eggs or bonus content. They are integral to the world and its lore. A hidden area might contain a boss that provides crucial context for the main story. An illusory wall might lead to a chamber with item descriptions that answer questions you have been asking since the beginning. A seemingly insignificant detail in the environment might be the key to understanding a major plot point. This approach to secrets creates a sense of depth and richness. The world feels layered, like an onion that you can keep peeling back, always finding something new beneath. And it rewards different playstyles. If you rush through the main quest, you will miss much of this depth. But if you take your time, if you explore thoroughly, if you pay attention to details, you will be rewarded with a much richer and more complete understanding of the world. The game's approach to difficulty scaling is also worth noting. Unlike many open-world games, Elden Ring does not scale enemies to your level. Areas have fixed difficulty, and if you wander into a high-level area early, you will be punished for it. This creates a sense of danger and discovery. You never know what you might encounter around the next corner. The world feels genuinely threatening, not because it is artificially difficult, but because it does not care about your comfort or your progress. But this also means that you can choose your own path through the game. If an area is too difficult, you can leave and come back later. You can explore in different directions, finding areas that are more appropriate for your current level. The game gives you freedom, but it also gives you responsibility. You must assess your own capabilities, make decisions about where to go and when, and live with the consequences of those decisions. This creates a very different experience from games that carefully guide you through a predetermined path. In Elden Ring, you are genuinely exploring, genuinely making choices that matter. And when you finally overcome a challenge that seemed impossible, when you return to an area that destroyed you earlier and find that you can now handle it, the sense of growth and accomplishment is real and earned. The lore surrounding the Elden Ring itself is complex and layered. The ring is not a physical object, but a concept, a set of runes that define the laws of reality. When the ring was shattered, those laws were broken, and the world fell into chaos. The demigods each claimed a shard of the ring, a great rune, and those runes granted them power, but also corrupted them, driving them to madness and conflict. The game asks you to collect these great runes and use them to restore the Elden Ring. But it also asks you to consider what kind of order you want to create. The runes can be arranged in different ways, creating different realities, different futures. Your choice of ending determines how the runes are arranged, what kind of world emerges from the chaos. This is a deeply philosophical question. What is order? What is the purpose of law and structure? Is it to create stability and peace, even at the cost of freedom? Is it to allow growth and change, even at the cost of chaos? Is it to eliminate suffering, even if that means eliminating life itself? The game does not answer these questions. It asks you to answer them through your actions and your choices. The greater will, the cosmic force that created the Elden Ring and the Golden Order, is presented as distant and inscrutable. It does not communicate directly. It works through intermediaries, through the two fingers and the Elden Beast, and the golden grace that guides you. But its intentions are unclear. Does it want what is best for the world, or does it simply want control? Is it benevolent, or is it indifferent to the suffering it causes? The game never answers these questions definitively. Different characters have different interpretations. Some see the greater will as divine and worthy of worship. Others see it as a tyrant that must be overthrown. And the game allows both interpretations to coexist, to be equally valid depending on your perspective. This ambiguity is central to Elden Ring storytelling. The game refuses to provide simple answers or clear moral guidance. It presents a complex world with competing truths and allows you to navigate that complexity on your own terms. And in doing so, it creates a narrative that is genuinely thought-provoking, that respects your intelligence and your ability to think critically about what you are experiencing. The theme of eyes and sight recurs throughout the game. Many characters are blind or have covered eyes. The Finger Maidens, who guide Tarnished on their journey, have their eyes sewn shut. The two fingers, representatives of the greater will, are literally fingers with no eyes at all. Melina has one eye closed, and when she opens it, it reveals a different color, suggesting a hidden nature or purpose. This recurring motif suggests that true sight, true understanding, comes not from physical eyes, but from something deeper, that the Golden Order, with all its light and clarity, might actually be blinding people to deeper truths, that to truly see, you must look beyond the surface, beyond the obvious, into the shadows and the hidden places. The game reinforces this through its visual design. The golden light of the Erd tree is beautiful, but also overwhelming. It washes out details, creates harsh contrasts, makes it difficult to see subtlety. In contrast, the underground areas, the places of shadow, often reveal more. In darkness, your eyes adjust. You notice details you would miss. In bright light, you see things as they truly are, not as the Golden Order wants you to see them. This is a metaphor for the game's entire approach to storytelling. The obvious narrative, the surface story of becoming Elden Lord and restoring order, is like the golden light. It is clear and bright and easy to follow. But the deeper story, the one hidden in item descriptions and environmental details and NPC quest lines, is like the shadows. It requires you to adjust your perception, to look more carefully, to see beyond the obvious. The Frenzied Flame represents another extreme. Where the Golden Order seeks perfect control and elimination of chaos, the Frenzied Flame seeks to burn everything away, to return the world to a state of primordial unity. It is madness and destruction, but it is also honest. It does not pretend to be something it is not. It does not hide its nature behind beautiful words and golden light. The three fingers, the counterpart to the two fingers, offer you the Frenzied Flame. They promise an end to suffering through the end of everything. No more division, no more conflict, no more pain. Just the melding of all things into one, the burning away of distinction and individuality. It is a seductive offer, especially in a world as broken as the lands between. But the game asks you to consider the cost. Is the elimination of suffering worth the elimination of everything else? Is unity worth the loss of individuality? Is it better to burn everything away and start over, or to try to build something new from the ruins of what came before? These are not easy questions, and the game does not pretend they are. It presents the frenzied flame as a genuine option, a path you can choose, and it respects that choice even as it shows you the consequences. If you embrace the frenzied flame, you burn the world. You destroy everything, including yourself, including Melina, if she is still alive. It is an ending of absolute finality, and the game does not judge you for choosing it. It simply shows you what happens and allows you to decide if that is what you wanted. The character of Marika the Eternal is central to the game's lore but remains mysterious throughout. She was the vessel of the Elden Ring, the god queen who ruled the lands between during the age of the Golden Order. But she also shattered the Elden Ring, setting the current crisis in motion. Her motivations are unclear. Did she shatter the ring out of grief after the death of her son Godwyn? Did she do it out of rebellion, seeking to free herself and the world from the control of the greater will? Or did she have some other purpose, some plan that we cannot yet understand? The game provides clues, but no definitive answers. Marika's words, recorded in various places throughout the world, are cryptic and contradictory. She speaks of strength and ambition, of the need to struggle and overcome. But she also speaks of doubt and questioning, of wondering whether the Golden Order is truly just. She is a complex figure, neither purely good nor purely evil, and her actions have shaped the world in ways that are still unfolding. The revelation that Marika and Radagon are the same being, two aspects of one god, adds another layer of complexity. Radagon sought to repair the Elden Ring, to restore order, while Marika shattered it. They are in conflict with themselves, divided against their own nature. This internal division mirrors the division of the world, the shattering of the ring, the conflict between order and chaos. This duality is reflected throughout the game: light and shadow, order and chaos, life and death. The game constantly presents these opposites and asks you to consider the relationship between them. Are they truly opposed, or are they two sides of the same coin? Can one exist without the other? Is the goal to choose one over the other, or to find some kind of balance or synthesis? The ending, where you become Elden Lord and restore the Golden Order, is presented as the default, the expected conclusion. But the game makes clear that this is not necessarily the best ending. The Golden Order was flawed. It created suffering and division. It elevated some and cast out others. Restoring it means perpetuating those flaws, continuing the cycle of oppression and exclusion. But the alternative endings are not clearly better. Ranni's Age of Stars brings freedom, but also uncertainty and potential chaos. The Frenzied Flame brings an end to suffering, but also an end to everything. The Age of Perfect Order eliminates chaos, but also eliminates free will. Each ending has its costs and its benefits, and the game trusts you to weigh them and make your own choice. This is perhaps the most important thing Elden Ring never tells you directly: that there are no perfect solutions, that every choice has consequences, both good and bad, that the world is complex and messy and full of trade-offs, and the best you can do is make the choice that aligns with your values and live with the results. The game's world design encourages exploration, not just for rewards, but for understanding. Every area tells a story through its architecture, its inhabitants, its atmosphere. Stormvale Castle is a fortress under siege, its walls crumbling, its defenders desperate. The Academy of Raya Lucaria is a place of learning turned inward, obsessed with its own knowledge, cut off from the world. Volcano Manor is a den of heretics and rebels, those who have rejected the Golden Order and seek to tear it down. Each of these places has a history, a purpose, a reason for being. And by exploring them, by paying attention to the details, you come to understand not just what they are, but what they represent. They are not just locations on a map. They are expressions of ideas, of philosophies, of different ways of responding to the world's brokenness. The game's use of color is also significant. Gold represents the Erd Tree and the Golden Order, divine authority and imposed structure. Red represents blood and violence, the cost of power and ambition. Blue represents magic and knowledge, the pursuit of understanding. Green represents life and nature, the world as it exists apart from human or divine intervention. And each area of the game is dominated by different colors, creating distinct visual identities and emotional tones. This color symbolism is never explained, but it is consistent throughout the game. And once you start to notice it, it adds another layer of meaning to everything you see. The golden light of Lanedale is not just beautiful. It is oppressive, overwhelming, a visual representation of the Golden Order's dominance. The red sky of Caelid is not just ominous. It is a warning, a sign of corruption and decay, the consequence of millennia's bloom of rot. The game's approach to time is also worth considering. The lands between exist in a state of temporal stasis. The demigods are immortal, unable to die permanently. The world is stuck, unable to move forward, trapped in the moment of the shattering. This stasis is presented as unnatural, a consequence of the broken Elden Ring. Your role as Tarnished is to break this stasis, to set time moving again. But the game asks what that means. Is moving forward always good? Is change always better than stability? The world before the shattering was ordered and peaceful, but it was also oppressive and unjust. The world after the shattering is chaotic and violent, but it is also free from the rigid control of the Golden Order. Which is preferable? The game does not answer this question. It presents both states and allows you to decide. And in doing so, it asks you to think about the nature of progress, about whether change is inherently good or whether it depends on what kind of change and what it costs. The merchants scattered throughout the lands between have their own tragic story. If you explore thoroughly, you can find evidence that they were once a nomadic people who were persecuted by the Golden Order. They were accused of heresy, of consorting with the frenzied flame, and they were hunted down and killed. The few survivors went into hiding, traveling alone, never staying in one place for long. This story is never told directly. You piece it together from item descriptions, from environmental details, from the words of the merchants themselves, if you pay close attention. And once you understand their history, their presence in the world takes on new meaning. They are survivors of genocide, people who have lost everything but continue to persist, to trade, to maintain some semblance of their culture and identity. This is typical of Elden Ring storytelling. The most important stories are often the ones that are easiest to miss. The game rewards attention and curiosity, but it does not punish you for missing things. You can complete the game without ever learning about the merchant's history. But if you do learn it, it enriches your understanding of the world and its complexities. The game's treatment of death and resurrection is philosophically interesting. You die repeatedly, but death is not an ending. You return, you try again, you persist. This could be seen as trivializing death, making it meaningless. But the game frames it differently. Death is a teacher. Each death shows you something, teaches you something about your enemy or the environment or your own limitations. Death is not failure. It is part of the process of learning and growing. This ties into the game's themes of persistence and will. You are tarnished, called back from death, and your defining characteristic is that you do not give up. You keep trying, no matter how many times you fail. This is not presented as stubbornness or foolishness. It is presented as strength, as the quality that makes you capable of achieving what others cannot. The game respects this persistence. It does not mock you for dying. It does not make death feel cheap or meaningless. Each death is a moment of reflection, a chance to consider what went wrong and how to do better next time. And when you finally succeed, when you overcome the challenge that has been defeating you, the sense of accomplishment is real because you earned it through genuine effort and persistence. As we near the end of this exploration, it's worth reflecting on what makes Elden Ring's approach to storytelling unique. The game trusts you. It trusts your intelligence, your curiosity, your ability to find meaning in fragments and ambiguity. It does not hold your hand or spell things out. It presents a world and invites you to engage with it on your own terms. This trust creates a different kind of relationship between game and player. You are not a passive consumer of a story. You are an active participant in creating meaning. The story of Elden Ring is not just what the developers put into the game. It is also what you bring to it, the connections you make, the interpretations you form, the meaning you derive from your experience. This is why Elden Ring resonates so deeply with so many people. It respects you as a thinking, feeling person capable of engaging with complex ideas and ambiguous narratives. It does not talk down to you or simplify things for easy consumption. It presents a rich, layered world and trusts that you will find your own path through it, your own understanding of what it all means. The lands between are a place of ruin and beauty, of tragedy and hope, of endings and beginnings. They are a world that has been broken and is waiting to be remade. And you, the Tarnished, are the one who will decide what form that remaking takes. Will you restore what was? Will you create something new? Will you burn it all away and start from nothing? Or will you walk away, leaving the world to find its own path? These are the questions Elden Ring asks without asking. These are the choices it presents without judgment. And in the space between the questions and the answers, in the silence where the game trusts you to think and feel and decide, that is where the real story lives. That is what Elden Ring never tells you directly, but shows you through every moment of your journey. The game is a meditation on power and its consequences, on order and chaos, on the cycles of rise and fall that define civilizations and individuals alike. It is a story about persistence in the face of overwhelming odds, about finding meaning in a world that seems determined to deny it, about the choices we make and the worlds we create through those choices. And perhaps most importantly, it is a story about respect. Respect for the player's intelligence and agency. Respect for complexity and ambiguity. Respect for the idea that meaning is not given but created. That understanding is not handed to you, but earned through effort and attention and thought. So, as you wander through the lands between, as you face impossible challenges and make difficult choices, as you piece together fragments of lore and try to understand what it all means, remember that the game is not withholding information from you. It is inviting you to participate, to think, to create your own understanding. It is treating you not as a consumer, but as a collaborator in the creation of meaning. And in that invitation, in that trust, lies the true beauty of Elden Ring. It is a game that believes in you, that respects you, that knows you are capable of engaging with complex ideas and finding your own truth. It is a game that never tells you what to think, but always encourages you to think deeply, to question, to wonder, to discover. The lands between are waiting. The Elden Ring calls. And the choice of what to do, what to become, what kind of world to create, that choice is yours and yours alone. The game will not tell you what is right. It will only show you what is possible, and trust that you will find your own way forward. And perhaps that is the greatest gift any story can give. Not answers, but questions. Not certainty, but possibility. Not a path to follow, but a world to explore and understand in your own way, at your own pace, according to your own values and beliefs. This is what Elden Ring never tells you. But if you listen carefully, if you pay attention, if you allow yourself to engage fully with the world and its mysteries, you will discover it for yourself. And that discovery, that moment of understanding that comes not from being told, but from figuring it out on your own, that is the true reward. That is what makes the journey worthwhile. So rest now, if you need to. The lands between will still be there when you return. The mysteries will still be waiting. The choices will still need to be made. But you have time. The game respects your pace, your process, your need to think and reflect and understand. It is patient. It will wait. And when you are ready, it will be there, inviting you once again to step into its world and discover what truths lie hidden in the silence between the words.